Hi everyone, can you all hear me? So, not having a go at the doctors at all because you're all fabulous, you've all got brilliantly huge brains, but you can scare the living daylights out of us. So I want to make sure that we all go home knowing that it's not all bad and that we're all going to be okay. I'm going to start just by taking you through a little journey of my life. So just bear with me, this is maybe a little bit self-indulgent, but you'll understand why I do this at the end because this will probably relate to some of you. So there I am as a baby, quite cute, I have to say, bit of a podgy brother. Oi, that one clearly. Brother, I had a thing about little China horses, that's another story. Lovely 1970s wallpaper, or actually 1960s wallpaper there. I had great taste in boys growing up. As you can see, this was my first most precious boyfriend. His name was Nobby Dawson. I picked well. I'm not sure what's happened to him. And then that's my best friend Heather. And we used to, this was in the Fame era, early 80s, and you can see we used to, so Heather's got turquoise boots on, turquoise t-shirt, the neck's cut out the t-shirt round her head, that's what we used to do, and we used to cut the sleeves off and wear it round our legs as leg warmers, that's what we used to do. Remember, you're remembering. This is a beautiful dress made out of a sheet. So we were, you know, hot chicks, we were living life. Nothing was going to come along and damage us or make us sad or make us poorly. We were living life to the full, as you can see. That continued. I was lucky enough to work as a photographic model from about the age of 16 to about the age of 24. I loved the job because I was what they called an outsize model because I was a curvy size 12. How crazy is that? And there were all these really skinny models that I used to work with, and I used to say, well, I get paid pound for pound. Every pound I weigh, I get paid an extra pound, so I'd then have another biscuit. And they believed me. I then met the man of my dreams, so still nothing was coming along to shake my world at all. This is Mr. B. He knew how to show me a good time. He took me to Sutton Park in Birmingham with a bottle of Liebfrau milk in his VW Golf. He knew how to show me a good time. We then got married, as you can see, we did that classy and stylish as well. Packet of Pringles on the table. We had a registry office wedding this day. He wore his Hawaiian shirt, I wore a little dress, and then we came back and had a barbecue and chocolate cake with friends. All very small, nothing to worry about in life whatsoever, everything was fab. The next day we then had a big Turkish wedding. My husband's Turkish. And it was amazing. And I just love this picture because I love the way he's looking at me. I also love it because of the faces I can see behind me. I'm missing 6 of them already. 6 of them are no longer with us. And that is, I suppose, when you start thinking, hang on a minute, maybe life isn't always completely rosy. Maybe there's odd times where things come along to rock you a bit. Anyway, we carried on. We did a bit of that. I ended up like that and had 3 of those who are now 20, 17 and 15. My life and all that had happened before me changed on this date, September the 26th, 2004, at 3:20. I was at a child's birthday party and everything was fine, everything was good, life was perfect, as you could see, leading up to this point. All of a sudden, bang down on the floor, central crushing chest pain, no idea what's going on. Ambulance is called and they come along and tell me I'm having a panic attack. I knew I wasn't having a panic attack because I was having a panic attack, but that came as a result of this awful pain that hit me before. And people who have heart attacks talk about a feeling of impending doom. I absolutely had this whoosh, this feeling of impending doom that I knew I would recognise again. I was taken to hospital. I was 36 at the time. I didn't drink, I didn't smoke. I was very fit. I had 3 children under 5. So they sent me home with indigestion medicine because, of course, there could be nothing wrong because women don't have heart attacks like that. So I went home and I can remember being up all night and I can remember rocking on all fours like I had indigestion. I just felt I needed to do a big burp and life would be great again. Anyway, I carried on. I felt something had changed inside me. I definitely felt delicate, but I was the mum of 3 young kids and you don't have time to be ill, you get on with life. So we were in London, we were walking along the Thames, I was picking up the baby, but knowing something wasn't right. Went to the GP and I said, I'm just not feeling right, something's wrong, I'm breathless. And it wasn't my normal GP. Had it been my normal GP, she would have known, hang on a minute, for her to say that something's very wrong. And it was a locum GP, and he said they thought I'd had acid, indigestion, reflux, that sort of caused the pain, they thought. So they said, oh, it's probably just you've burnt your esophagus, and that's why you're breathless. And I went, oh, okay, I believe you. Went home the next day, collapsed on the floor with the pain again. We called the ambulance again, went back into the hospital, and this time, it still took time, it still took another 48 hours to get diagnosed and for them to believe I was having a heart attack, but it did eventually get diagnosed. At one point I was in the in A&E and I had 3 cardiologists with me saying, your ECG is telling us you've had a heart attack, but we still don't believe it. And one of those guys did bet me £1 million, so obviously I will go and find him one day. Eventually, angiogram, and they saw a complete dissection, so a SCAD heart attack of the LAD, and mine was a complete dissection. So this was 2004. There was none of this. There was no wonderful Bex. Not that I wish you'd had yours earlier, Bex, at all, but it would have helped me immensely if there was someone else. There was nobody around. I found one other survivor, one lady in Tel Aviv, and then she didn't survive after that. So I was kind of left on my own. So my life, as you can see, why I bothered to show you those pictures of my life is that my life went along beautifully. And I'm sure, and I'm talking particularly to the patients and their partners here, your life will have gone along particularly happily. And then there would have been one point in your life where you went, oh, hang on a moment, something's not right. It was maybe a catastrophic thing, like a heart attack, like lots of the SCAD patients have had. It's maybe was a gradual progression and a gradual diagnosis that you came to terms with. Now, as patients sitting in this room, we are so incredibly thankful to the doctors, to the professors, for doing the wonderful work that they do, because if it wasn't for them, the chances are we wouldn't be here. But I also want you as patients to keep something else in mind. You can't always control what happens around you, but you can control how you deal with it. And because we have this diagnosis, so just so you know, I had 3 heart attacks when I was 36. I then went on absolutely fine, great. I lose track of time. About 3 years ago, I was diagnosed with FMD. Or tortuosity, whatever we're going to call it, up here, and then obviously that's what's caused my SCAD heart attacks. Dr. Abby did my scans, and when she told me and showed me the picture of my brain with all these wiggly vessels, I said, oh, that's why I'm so clever. And she wasn't quite sure how to react, because I'm really not that clever. But I know what it's like to live with a diagnosis. And it's all very well for the doctors to say, this is great. And I know I'm not having a go because I know you do it for the right reasons and I know you're very aware of this. But the doctors go, yeah, we've got another case. Yeah, we feel this. Well, that person, and that's, I think, what you were saying earlier, that person then has to live with that diagnosis. I counsel lots of heart patients. And what I always say to them is, because it's your heart, it plays with your head. And it's the same with FMD. You can stand there and look completely normal. And somebody else who hasn't been diagnosed, I can see you all nodding, someone who hasn't been diagnosed but possibly has exactly the same condition can stand next to you and look completely normal. The difference is you know it and that person doesn't. And because you know it, it plays with your head. everything becomes heightened. For heart patients, we have a heightened sense of awareness, don't we, around this area. Every little twinge, we're like, oh, what's that? Sadly, 2 years ago, I went on to have 2 more heart attacks. I have to tell you, I was a bit scared about coming today because one of the last things I talked about for the SCAD group, I had a fall. It's not funny, but I had a fall the day before, I think, that happened, and then the week later I had 2 more heart attacks, and I was petrified about telling the group because that showed the recurrence. So I'm up to 5 now, but hey, I'm still here, and still good, and you are still here too. So what I just want you to appreciate is knowledge is absolutely power. And we need knowledge. One of the things that I'm taking away from this talk is Dr. Adeline, where you've said the familial connection is really not very strong at all because I have 3 children, and of course that was the huge thing on my mind. So that's the positive thing I'm taking away from today. I'm not going to think twice about the kids anymore. It's all about me. No, it's all fine. But because knowledge is power, but knowledge can also batter you and suffocate you emotionally. So what I just want to say to you is, I have many mantras, as lots of you know, but my most important mantra is, every day above ground is a great day. Now, there are people that live with our condition that have no clue and will never have a clue about it, and it will never show itself. Isn't that right, David? Never, it will never show itself. We are in the very lucky position that we know, but we're also in the very difficult position that we know. So it contained your life. So according to the medical books, I can't do maths, 15 years ago or whatever, when I suffered my first 3 heart attacks, I had a complete dissection of the LAD, top to bottom, nothing we can do, call in Mr. B, say goodbye, that's it. And hey presto, I survived. Yes, life had to change a little bit, but I was still here. My normal levels of energy changed a bit, but that became my normal. And I thought everyone else was abnormal. And this is going to be the normal. Then off we go, tightrope, you're doing fine. Then the tightrope comes along and wobbles again. 2 more heart attacks, this time complete dissection of the circumflex, which isn't good news. But guess what? The LAD is now open again and working again. So according to medical books, I really shouldn't be standing here chit-chatting the way I am. Everybody's individual. So even within the research that we are doing and we have part of, nobody can dictate how you deal with everything. Someone might be able to say, this might happen to you one day, possibly in the future. But nobody can tell you how you're going to react and how you're going to cope with it. So I just really want to tell you that it's not all doom and gloom. It is really good. Life, of course I wish that the heart attacks hadn't happened to me, but I cannot say that life is worse because it's happened to me. I would have to say life is better because that's the only choice I have, because guess what? This is it. This is the one life. The other thing I just want to touch on quickly, if I'm doing all right for time. Oh, look, I don't know why I put those in. Those are my books. That's work. That's why I do everything. Those are my 3 little munchkins now. And I think if ever you lose sight of the positivity that you're still here, even though you're living with a chronic illness or a potential chronic illness or something might go wrong, you've got to work out why you do what you do every day. And once you work out your why, if ever you're having a wobble on your tightrope, just focus on that. So if ever I wake up in the morning feeling sorry for myself, which rarely happens, but occasionally does, I'll just think, hang on a moment. They don't need a mum who's moaning and whinging and whining. They need a mum who's getting on with life, because actually I've woken up, so that's a good thing. So think of your why, focus on that. Food was most definitely my miracle. I won't go on for hours upon hours about food, but the food you eat has such a massive effect on your health. It's all about mind, body and soul. The food you eat will, yes, Bex, hide your cake. The food you eat can give you fuel and can support everything that the doctors do and the medications. That's not to say you're not allowed treats, and I'm going to tell you about one of my prescriptions. Just really quickly, fast food isn't always unhealthy food. The fastest food on the planet is an omelette with a bit of spinach in it, and the healthiest food. People don't listen to when people tell you that, oh, carbohydrates are really bad. Carbohydrates aren't great if you're wanting to lose weight, but the type of carbohydrates you eat and the time that you eat them matters. So I work with a potato company to drive home the message that potatoes are absolutely really jam-packed full of nutrients for you, much more so than whole wheat pasta. So it's just getting smart, reading the information on the back, not the marketing on the front. Don't ever kid yourself that you're being healthy by drinking stuff like that and eating stuff like that, because you're kidding yourself and you're not. Don't drink Diet Coke thinking you're doing good. When you're thirsty, drink water. If you're going out for a drink and you want proper Coke, drink proper Coke if you're not diabetic. But have it as a treat and understand what you're eating. Things like this they may not have all the baddies in them, but they've not got all the goodies either. So anything that's been through a process, just of being cooked long enough to live on a shelf in a shop, has had all the goodness taken out of it. So just eat fresh. And that goes for everybody, doctors as well. We all need to take much better care of ourselves. Water can be really tasty. Rest is really important for all of us. There's no such thing as a 50% rest. If you're going to rest, do it 100%. My attitude to life is 100%. If I'm having a day off, I'll have a complete day off. Nobody better ask me to do anything because the answer is no. If I'm exercising 100% within my body limits. If I'm resting, I'm doing it 100%. Don't ever feel guilty for resting. Movement is crucial. Don't feel, you asked the question about contact sports and keeping fit and all that. I think the most important thing is just to listen to your body. And if you've got rid of all chemicals and you're not eating processed food, your body will tell you what it needs to know. So if you've got a bit of energy, you can go and get a move on. If you haven't and you need to rest, it's that simple. It's not rocket science like the doctors do. Fear is a huge, enormous thing. And that's what I think my message to you really is, that fear is something that's a natural instinct, okay? 2 million years ago, we had to have fear within us because if a black panther came along, we had to leg it. That's what we had to do. We don't have to be fearful of those things anymore. But now we have much more information of conditions like this, like FMD, that we have in our body. And that can make us fearful. But that doesn't mean we have to let it control our lives. And there are ways to calm down the fear and think of more positive things. I haven't got time to teach you them all now. We'll maybe do another session one day. And that's the picture that I'm ending up on, which is a baby who's clearly very poorly and very tiny, but look at that happy face. Now that baby has no knowledge of what's going on inside its body. If that baby had the knowledge, it would be fearful. But because that baby doesn't have the knowledge, it's okay. Now, you've got the knowledge, which is a good thing, but it is a bad thing. So what I want you to do is appreciate that you can control how you react to this. You can control how you go home today. You can go home today thinking, oh my God, I've got it in my kidneys, my liver, my brain, my neck. I've got one of those aneurysms and I'm going to have a heart attack. I'm going to have everything, which isn't the case. Or you can go home thinking, okay, I've got this condition, but actually the guy sitting next to me, well, not in this room, admittedly, but on the train home, the guy sitting next to me might also have it and he doesn't even know. So I'm being monitored, I'm in a good position, now let's get on with life. And just try to take a more positive view if you can. There's things that you can do to make life easier. The first thing is, I have these with me wherever I go, which is just a little red plastic pouch, and it has a laminated copy of my ECG on there, and a note from my cardiologist and prescription. And I also in here somewhere have the SCAD leaflet, which is a good thing to carry for SCAD patients. I've got that in there. And I have my red GTN spray. So if ever I get an onset of chest pain, I know exactly what has to happen. And this is always with me in any bag. That's just a just in case. And what that does is alleviate too much concern. It just means you can put a bit more concern to bed. The other thing I'm going to give you permission to do is, you know those really annoying people that say to you, when you're having a moment, and they say to you, oh, but we could all get run over by a bus tomorrow. You're allowed to punch them in the mouth, okay? Because the last thing we need is a big red bus revving its engine outside our door when we've got everything else to think about. So I'm just giving you a shield of positivity to take away with you. Life is good. We are all here. We are all living. And the other thing I loved was that David said that this had, if you've got FMD, it doesn't tend to grow in other places. So it's like, okay, it's fine. I just want to tell you, everything's going to be fine. You can go away, you can get on with your life, you can be rest assured that these brilliant people, thank you so much, are doing the work behind the scenes to make sure that we stay well. But life is good and we're all going to be okay. Thank you very much.